welcome to the Swift Half, your weekly session of chat from the UK OCR and adventure running scene. Each week, pub landlord Alan and our favourite regular Ian discuss races, runners and anything else that comes to mind. So pull up a pew, pour yourself a drink and join us for the Swift Half.
And welcome to the Swift Half again. How are you?
I'm great, Alan. And for the benefit of those of you who are not on YouTube, Alan looks like he took a trip to the sun this week.
I got a right tan, an absolute beautiful tan. I had a good tan from Montenegro, but you know, this tan is even better than Montenegro. Midlands, tough mudder tan. Brilliant. Can't beat it.
You absolutely can't. You look in the same colour as my granddad used to, and he was a coal miner.
You know, I think it's as you get old. In fact, I actually got called old several times this weekend. But you know, as you get older, I think your skin sort of just seems to absorb brownness. Is it keratin? Not keratin, because keratine's like gasoline, isn't it? What do they call it? Something like that.
I've no idea. Martin Gemmell, let us know. I'm not even looking it up. Martin can sort that out. I'm sure. Possibly in a few weeks, because I think a few of our listeners are a few Swift halves behind. So out of the blue, Alan, I don't know about you, but out of the blue, every so often I just get a message saying, "Oh, what about this?" And I'd completely forgot that we talked about it in May, and they have to explain. Does that happen to you as well?
It definitely does. And for everyone, yes, we are doing a Secret Santa next week because it is only Christmas in 3 days' time. So, yes.
Yeah, for the benefit of those people. Yeah, maybe we should plan Secret Santa earlier.
Well,
what are you trying to say about my organisation? Hold on a minute. I need to speak to HR.
No, that was a great segue. I was going to lead him in there because we've got another guest, listeners. If you've not noticed, we brought Mr. Wil Chung into the pub with us tonight.
I can't stand it. I might just leave. You know, I might just go.
No, I think your organisation is great, but every year there's always that one person who takes forever to pick who they are gonna have as their what is it, Secret Santa E? I'm not even sure what you say, but the person we're going to buy a gift for, there's always one person who leaves it to the last minute. There's always one person who almost forgets to buy a gift and then has to pay extra on Amazon to get it sent because it's actually too tight to pay for Prime delivery. And yeah, there's always that one person. Okay, that person's me, but even so, there's always one person.
I like how you are walking this one back in, but I think you were right. You were pretty much the last person to pick. Yeah, because I'm sure I remember sending out several messages on Facebook and probably WhatsApp just to tell you to get picking your choice.
Yeah, and once a year, it's just a trait. I can't quite explain it, but it's just a trait. Alan's known me for a long time now, and he knows set me a deadline that's not the actual deadline, and then it'll get done in advance.
He does. He actually, it's right. That's bang on. You give him a deadline a week before you want it, Will, and he's done. It's absolutely done. And it's like, but if you said to him on you want it on that day, I'll go, oh, I'll do it, and it ends up coming through literally minutes before you're about to plan whatever you've got to do. But yeah, he does.
Listeners, you don't know how many times the UK HXR podcast has been about 30 seconds from having no show notes and a generic title.
It just sits there on Libsyn waiting to be published. We're just like show number 433, notes to come.
It's just my way. I can't quite explain it. But speaking of notes, we do have a lot to get through. So before we get to them, Alan, what are you drinking?
Well, a little bit more story on the weekend, and I'll come back to it in a minute. I got an injury at WTM, so I'm now on some tablets. I'm on some really strong painkillers, trying to take the inflammation down on my ankle. So I'm on Waterian, and it's not just normal water. It's not even water. I did have some water, and I've left it at my campsite that I stopped at. So I've just been out and bought some Aquavale still spring water. And I'm going to turn around and say it just tastes like tap water. I wish I'd not even bothered spending any money because it just tastes just like tap water, and it's absolutely shite.
Who did you buy it off, Del Boy or Rodney?
Local, it was just a local shop on my way home. I was literally like, coming out of the train station, I was like, oh, I need to get something to drink. And I thought, I'll go and get some fruit. And I just saw water. And I thought, no, I want water. I just want water. I've got some tramadols. And you can't really have anything to drink with them, not even zero alcohol stuff, I don't think. So I don't want to risk it.
This is how little I go to a doctor. You could tell me that Trinidad's plays up front for Chelsea, and I believe you. I've no clue what they are. I don't know.
It probably does. It probably did at one stage play up front for him. They've had everyone else play up front for him, Chelsea. But that's a valid point. Will knows what tramadol is. I'm sure he does. He's an athlete.
I know what it is. Fortunately, never had to have it, but I do know what it is. Yeah.
Alan, I will say, with you having water, that reminds me of something from Stockholm, because although we briefly covered it last week, there's all kinds of stuff I keep remembering. And we asked for water at the hotel, to take up to the room, because the intern always likes having a bottle of water nearby, just in case you get thirsty. And I've never heard this before. They asked us, do you want it with bubbles or without bubbles? How cool is that?
Instead of sparkling and non-sparkling, bubbles or no bubbles? Did a monkey come? Did you ask him for bubbles? You have bubbles and a monkey came along with it.
Oh, could you imagine? It was just still water anyway, and it was, just monkey delivered. But how cool would that be?
Oh God, a monkey swinging through the window going, water!
Oh,
we digress. What are you drinking tonight?
I am actually drinking Rubicon with bubbles, although it is spring. So this is, you know what? It's red. I think it's cherry. I'm not sure if I've drank it before. It was in the Tesco clearance aisle. So it's now, it was in my fridge and now it's on the show.
Nice one. And Ian number 2. I mean, Will. Just had to get that one in.
So, Alan, do you remember what we were talking about last week, wasn't it? When you and I were on the Swift off in terms of water. But this is premium, still northeastern water. But actually, more importantly, it is the world's toughest mudder water. I love this can. It's so beautiful. I'm half tempted not even to open the can, just so I can put it on the table there with my other WTM stuff. But all the finishers got a can of the water as part of their celebration kit. So this is really cool.
And am I right in saying if they took a picture of them drinking it, there's a QR code on, they could then send it and...
Yeah, there's a QR code where you can enter to win a World's Toughest Mudder ticket. So if anyone's really good, they might be able to scan this to try and get an entry for World's Toughest Mudder.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
I've got visions like people now on putting us on YouTube on the television so they can scan it to make it bigger.
I'm curious. Will, let's try.
But would you turn up, Ian? Ian, you can't do that. Would you turn up?
I don't think it's quite.
Sadly, it's not working. It's just looking at Will.
Oh,
so,
there.
listener,
there you go. That should do it. There you go.
Let's try.
This is making great podcast,
It absolutely is. Listeners who are just audio, it's me with a phone trying to get a QR code and failing miserably. Maybe you'll have better luck. When you've done listening to the audio, go on to YouTube and see if you can do it. And if you do, let us know. But Alan, to answer your question, probably not. But there is instinctive value to having a ticket. Yeah, it means I can be part of the numbers, I guess, and say, well, I had a ticket.
Yeah, I can get that. I get that. I don't think there were many people didn't turn up. I know the brunch was not many people turned up, but over 650 participants here and 29 countries. That's a pretty big 24-hour event.
What were the numbers? Sorry.
600. I'm right in saying 650 plus, Will?
Mm-hmm.
29 different countries. 28, but then Isle of Man apparently is its separate company, so
I think they said
29.
26 because then there was Isle of Man, Wales, and Scotland. They technically added those in too.
Yeah.
All right, that's fine. And to be fair, Hyrox does that. Hyrox counts England and Scotland all separately, so it's only fair, I guess. So what happened with the brunch then in terms of numbers? I know we're skipping ahead here, but what happened?
For me, it didn't. It was busy, but not as busy as the previous year. So last year, I felt brunch was absolutely jam packed, but I think this time they had a slightly bigger tent. The tent felt bigger that they use. You know, the tent gazebo, whatever you want to call it, quite a big thing. But it just didn't feel as busier inside it. There was room to sit where last year I felt we were very much sat on top of each other. Did you feel the same, Will?
I did, but I know that they did sell out because they stopped selling tickets about 2 weeks before brunch because there were several people wanting to get a brunch ticket. So maybe it was just people not being able to make brunch. Maybe they just did have more room this time. But I do know they sold out tickets. And I kind of agree with you, Alan, that 650 competitors plus pit crew and everything else, you would expect a huge amount of them to attend, and it's a shame that that they can't get a bigger tent or they can't get more people. I must admit, £40 for what is an English breakfast is really expensive, and I think for some people, quite the price is off-putting. But I always say to everybody that's experiencing World's Toughest Mudder, at least for the very first time, they should do the whole thing and they should do brunch as well. But I think there's definitely now some World's Toughest Mudder legionnaires, shall we call them, that probably didn't want to do it this time just because it's relatively expensive. But I mean, £40 is a lot for an English breakfast. It's a very nice English breakfast. It was beautiful, but it's a lot of money.
I was going to say that's fair, and you've also got the point that when we head to America when it was over there, you're there on holiday. Whereas over here, for some people, you've already took the Friday off work to get down there. Monday might become a travel day, or you might even travel home on Sunday and it's a work day, because I do believe a lot of all those 26 countries, a lot of people were local. So you do have that factor, particularly if they've come from far off lands like Scotland and Cornwall and that. So yeah, I can understand that. I want to just circle back to the number, okay? Because yourselves are saying the 650 number. I wasn't there. I wasn't doing a head count, but I do know there has been some discourse online that said the number based on finishers was a little bit less than that. Numbers have been bandied around somewhere between the 400 to 500. Any thoughts on that whatsoever?
Well, I'm one of them that's not counted as a finisher, which is quite ironic. There were a lot of, I know of at least 6 people that DQ'd themselves or got medically DQ'd. It did feel, it was tough, Ian. I'm going to turn around and say it was tough. The course itself, and I think I said this to you, Will, while we were down there, there was no standout obstacle like the previous year. We had Firefly last year. This year there was no standout singular obstacle, but what they did is they made a lot of tough obstacles. So there was none of this easy peasy things. Even the walls, I think I call it Great Escape. It was an 8-foot vertical wall, then followed by, is it skid mark? Will they call it skid mark? Followed by a skid mark, then followed by an Irish table wall. The carry, it wasn't a normal carry. It was a 20-pound sandbag carry for about 50 meters up an hill and back down. And then you had to carry a 60 kg chain at the same time for about another 30 meters, followed by another 50, 60 meter sandbag carry. It wasn't just what they joined up things to make it, I want to say, the world's toughest mudder. It was the world's toughest mudder to me. It was, they stepped nearly every obstacle was stepped up to a new level.
Yeah, I've got questions, and I'm probably just going to take the lead here, listener, because I wasn't there. So I'm going to be the listener surrogate for those who weren't there. I did see You mentioned no, what I'll call an iconic obstacle, but I did see some new spins on old favorites because one of my favorites back in the day was what was called stage 5 clinger or reach around, and you had a version of that which I believe was called hangover. And Alan, I think that when you came to Tough Mudder, for whatever reason, stage 5 clinger reach around wasn't there anymore. What did you think of hangover?
It was tough. It was tough. This is the one I'm presuming that we came back on ourselves and then flipped over the top and then went up the ramp. Am I right in saying that, Will? Yeah.
Yeah.
It was tough. I only did it once, Ian, before I DNF. But it was, the first stage was quite easy to get up. As you saw even in our videos of Will doing it on Instagram, the first stage was fairly easy. It wasn't tough. There was good handholds, good foot grips. But then the second part, there was a wooden beam across it, and that wooden beam was just high enough that unless you were really tall, you couldn't get your foot on it. So you had to jump to get onto the beam, and then when you're on the beam, there was only 2, maybe 3 handholds at the top to actually get on, to get your hands in, and you were using your upper body strength. It was tough. It was a tough obstacle, and it zapped a lot of people.
I was really interested, actually, Alan, and you're right. I did it. I had a play, and completely fair. I was fresh and thought, oh, this is a great obstacle. It was fun. When I went round and did not the night lap, but I went to do some interviews around the night and take some photos. I saw so many people skipping it and actually going straight to the penalty. And the penalty, Ian, was dizzy bat, so 20 twizzles around the bat. So it's not an easy penalty, but they all prefer to do that than to do hangover. I thought it was a fun one. Yes, I think especially later on, it was definitely going to be tough, but I was surprised how many more people prefer to take the penalty rather than try and do hangover. And it was great, actually. There was several people when I got there that then started to help each other. So they all got, as you say, they all kind of did the first bit, which was the inverted climb, because a lot of footholds, a lot of handholds. But the second part, they certainly helped each other to get up and over, because it was like a stage of pyramid scheme, really, almost as tall as a pyramid scheme, where you would need a bit of help to get to the top.
It actually looked fun. And Tough Mudder, if you're listening to this, feel free to bring that to any course in the near future, please. Absolutely, please bring that back. I'm going to ask about another thing. Electroshock therapy, what did they do to it? Because I must have missed this on the various videos, because it wasn't called electroshock therapy. What made it tougher this time, Alan?
There was a couple of hay bales in it, but what they actually did, they moved the markings. So we all know at the Midlands, we get the wind that comes across, and if you're quite savvy, you can actually run down one side of electroshock therapy. It was great to see that they actually moved the course markings to stop you from doing that. So you had to go through electroshock therapy. That's what made it harder, Ian. And if you didn't, you took the penalty.
I blame our friend Grumpy, because we saw very early on, before it even opened, that all the trailing wires were moving to the side, and there was no way of kind of recentering them, so they would go across the whole truss. So I know it would be Grumpy that kind of got that marking tape to kind of narrow electric shock therapy. They did have issues, Ian. At the beginning, there was some technical issues with it. The solar charger didn't charge in the day, so for the first half an hour when it opened, it wasn't actually shocking, so people could go through no problem and not get shocked. I was there. I was telling people, they didn't believe me at all. So they were still going really, really slow and kind of inching through as you normally would, to try and get through without being zapped. So that was on its own very funny. But they bought, I guess, the old school way. So they got a couple of the big batteries. So I think what made it harder was probably zapping and charging more than what the normal solar charger would have done. Penalty was fun. Did you get to do the penalty, Alan?
No, I'd finished before it was even open, so I didn't. I only saw what they did to it. So
Okay,
what was
so
the penalty?
the penalty was, you've got like a soap, a hand soap bottle, a hand wash bottle. So it's about 150 milliliters. You had to fill it with the water and then just pump it all out and keep going.
Oh,
And I was timing people, and it took them probably a good 2 minutes. And of course, you kind of arms getting tired, so you're swapping the arms as well. But yeah, just imagine pumping out 200, about 150 milliliters of liquid back into the tub, ready for the next person to fill it in. It was fun. It was not, it wasn't fatiguing, but as I say, probably sitting there for 2 minutes just trying to get all the liquid out. Very funny.
Yeah, that actually sounds like a fun penalty. Alan, any other fun penalties that you did?
oh yeah, I went diving for pussy every lap, and that's what it was called. That's the name of the thing. It was diving for pussy. Basically, it was a big, apple bobbing. Imagine apple bobbing, big tank like that. You put your head in, and at the bottom there's all these like little animals, little plastic animals, and you had to come out with a cat or a pussy, as they kept saying. So yes, that was
So
on Sprinkle Toes.
I was going to say a bit of context, Ian. The obstacle itself was called double toe 7. So it was balance beam and then down under and under fence, as in over under through fence, and then back onto a balance beam. So double toe 7. And so yeah, it was diving for pussy, or called pussy galore, wasn't it? So as Alan said, lots of different animals within this massive tub of water, and you just had to try and find it was a lion or a tiger or something like that in a kind of a menagerie of animals underwater.
See, I would have liked that one because this is something I forgot to mention when it comes to tips. My number one tip for taking on WTM is take a pair of goggles for any kind of underwater stuff because they don't help you when it comes to a regular mudder, but when it comes to stuff like Arctic enema, being able to open your eyes and just see, it just makes all the difference. It's unbelievable. So for that particular penalty, would have been fine. I would have been able to find the kitty cats wherever they happen to be. So yeah, that sounds fun. Go on then, Alan. You mentioned at the start of the show that for some reason you decided not to continue on your WTM journey. Do you want to just give us a blow by blow? Because I'm not sure if we'll get an opportunity to cover it anywhere else.
Okay, I'll not give you the full story, but I'll give you blow by blow to a point. Lap 1, just before Augustus Gloop, so about 3.5 miles into it, you came down a hill, and just before you got to a little boggy section, there were some really deep holes in the floor, and I put my heel into one, and I rolled the Achilles tendon, the one that's been giving me pain, the right foot. So I went into the whole event with a slight injury, rolled it, got a bit of pain. I hobbled down to Augustus Gloop, and Augustus Gloop was open. Great obstacle, by the way, Ian. They made the taps bigger. The water was coming down like tenfold. It was absolutely amazing. Best Augustus Gloop I've ever done. I think the getting in the water helped it cool down. So I got out and I ran for about another half a mile, 3/4, but the pain was just starting to become excruciating. So I thought, right, I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to quit at this point. I can walk. Yeah, let's see if I can walk it off. So I decided just to try and walk as fast as I possibly could. And I did, and I was doing quite well. I actually covered another 25 miles. So I covered a grand total of six laps by 8:30. So in 8.5 hours, I'd done 30 miles just walking. But it was starting to get cold. All the water obstacles were open. The pain was getting worse, and I made the decision, I want to say, just after Funky Monkey, which was another great obstacle, by the way. I landed quite funny. I was reaching for the ledge, and I landed quite funny on the ankle, and then I didn't grab the bar, and I fell back into the water. And I thought at that point, this is not going to stand up. This ankle's not going to stand up. So I made that point that I was going to walk off. So for the rest of the mile, it's about a mile from the end, I was contemplating, do I just go and sit in the pits for the rest of the day and then go out in the morning and finish another lap. And I was thinking to myself, if I sit in the pits, I am going to go out tomorrow morning. No matter how I feel, even if it's killing me and I'm struggling to walk, I'm going to go out and I'm going to do another lap. So I walked over the finish line after my 6th lap, and I walked up to the tent and I gave them my chip. I thought, I'm going to quit. It's fine to quit. You know what I mean? It's, you know, there's a saying, you don't have to prove nothing. Well, you do have to prove something. And I did prove something. I could do 30 miles of walking. But I decided that I want to come back and I want to race again. And to do that, I needed to walk away from that race and not get any further injuries. So that's exactly what I did. I don't regret what I did. I'm not fine, but I'm walking. And that's the key. If I'm walking, I'm going to get better. I'm going to heal. I'm going to heal much faster than if I'd have gone out, done another 5 laps and proper wrecked my foot. And you don't know. You know, I could have maybe done another 10, 15, 20 miles and not done it. But at that moment in time, I thought, that's it. I'm going to hurt myself. So I made that final decision to walk away. Otherwise, I think I'd have been challenging Dassos for the title. You know, that's one of the things, isn't it?
Yeah, Dassos should really thank you for retiring when you did and just opening up that opportunity for him. I'm sure he's listening to this, and I'm sure he's counting his lucky stars that you decided to just step back. So after you did the gracious thing to allow Dassos to take it, what did you do for the rest of the trip? Did you hop in and then head straight back up to Barnsley, or did you muck in with Little Scotland?
I went to watch the football. I've seen that one. That also might have had a little bit of like on my mind, you know. If I quit now, I've got a chance to get changed and go watch the football.
It wasn't worth it.
I know it wasn't. But yeah, so no, it didn't really play my mind but that was just a lucky coincidence. It never even crossed my mind, the football, but it was a lucky coincidence. I went back to our caravan where we were stopping with Betty. We watched a bit of football, sat rested, had a nice lovely shower, got up the next morning, came back fairly early on Sunday morning, got some interviews, got some great interviews we're going to put up on YouTube and the podcast and that, along with Wil's amazing interviews that he's done as well. We've got quite a lot to put up. We're going to get them up over the next couple of weeks so people can relive it and some of the stories that go behind it. So yeah, did a bit of media, got some footage and things like that, and enjoyed myself talking to people. I did miss a few people that I wanted to say hello to. So Wendy, I know you listen to this. Sorry, I'd waved to you at one point. I did want to come back and see you, but I couldn't find you. I was busy doing other things. So apologies for not reaching out. And same with the wheelhouses as well. And Katie, I spoke to Libby, but I didn't speak to Katie as well. So I know they're really good friends of ours.
And you completely ignored me.
You know, you were like a will-o'-the-wisp. You was in and you was out, and you was in and you was out, and I didn't see you once, Ian. So yeah, apologies for not speaking to you as well.
I think practically everyone who listens to this didn't speak to me. It's ridiculous. Anyway, I mentioned briefly there, Little Scotland. Did they treat you well?
They treated me absolutely amazing. I had got my shoe rack up. I'd put it up for 16 laps. That was my aim. I was going to go out. I was hoping to do 16 laps. I'd got everything organised. And all I asked him to do was, if I come in, please let me get out as soon as possible. And will you just keep my water bottles filled up? So I had 4 water bottles. And so there was one in lap 1, 2, 3, 4. So when I came back after lap 1, I put that one into lap 5. 2 went into 6, 3 went into 7, and they actually filled them up and put my carbs in, and they did it absolutely brilliant. And when I got a blister about lap 4, I think, as well, and I couldn't find a safety pin, and they was instantly there with a safety pin to help me get rid of that blister. So they were absolutely brilliant. Big thank you to them all, and they were up all night. They had so much fun. No Scotland, no party was ringing out constantly. They were putting traffic cones on everything they could find, which was it was so much fun in Little Scotland. Loved it, absolutely loved it. And I want to say massive well done to them as well, because you know, when people go out on course and help them, it was the Scottish contingent that was out there in the main. They was out there. There was at Mudderhorn, there was at the Walls, There was out there in the main helping everyone. Scotland made it absolutely special.
So we were helping people who didn't have anyone to help them. God, there could be something in that actually. But moving on, shall we say? Let's move on. Let's bring Wil back in. Wil, obviously you're doing a lot of media and that. I'm conscious listener. We will get to some other news. There is some other news. Some of it might go to next week. We'll
It's
try
okay,
and keep it
Dawn.
to 107.
It's okay, Dawn. We'll try and get rid of any of the fitness racing. We'll just keep to WTM, Dawn. Don't worry about it.
We may do that because a lot of my stuff's timeless anyway. But you did the media. First thing I want to know, did you actually go out on your media lap?
Yes, Iris and Iris is the social media manager of Tough Mudder and Spartan. She has never done a Tough Mudder. She has worked for Spartan for 5 years. She's worked with the UK team for 2 years and never done a Tough Mudder. So I made sure when I spoke to her at London West, I made sure that we would have a media lap. It was a lot of fun. So Iris and we went out showing her how to do some of the obstacles. Some of them she was just she just like a legionnaire, had no problems doing things. But we also managed to catch lots of stories and interviews as we were going around as well, which was kind of part of why we were going. For me, is obviously catching the obstacles and get a video, but for her it was just being part of the community and actually experiencing Tough Mudder as a Tough Mudder participant rather than just kind of being a media and sticking cameras in front of people's faces. So that was a lot of fun. So I got to play properly on Hangover. Shaft It is an obstacle we haven't spoken about, but that was a lot of fun. That was a rope swing over a water pit, and then you had to try and catch on to the net and then crawl under the net. That was a lot of fun too. So yeah, I mean, the other thing I guess to talk about, Alan, I don't know how much it changed your strategy, but we have talked about it before, but how the course has reversed since the very first time that the course went clockwise rather than anti-clockwise. When I spoke to people, there was only one person that liked it this way better than going the usual route. What did you think?
Loved it, Wil. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was a great way of doing it. Getting the hills in early, it split the field. You could see it split the field, and it made it. I want to say it made it tougher in my head. It made it tougher to go over the start line. But once you were over the start line and you got past Augusta's Gloop, you knew you were like a mile and a half of no hills or minimal hills, and it was a great run home. Oh, I loved it. You know. Best thing ever. And
it was actually Cake King, Paul Ellis, that absolutely agreed with you. No one else liked it that way, but he said, get that hill done, because obviously there was that one major hill really. The rest of it is lumpy. Get that one hill done, and then the rest of the lap is relatively easy. And if you remember, we always talk about how it was hill, flat, hill, either which way, but it actually, I think this way around, it was much flatter. So it did feel a bit like a hill, flat. In a way. So I think it probably overall made it that little bit easier than the other way around. Oh, the other newish obstacle, Ian, that we did was called Swing Low. And that was a low rig. I guess from kind of UK OCR and British obstacle sports standards, relatively easy. But of course, if you're 12 hours into a race, no obstacle is easy. But you're hanging very low, and you're kind of you're scaling a pole onto a small ring and onto a ladder to get across ring the bell. And if you failed it, or if you didn't want to do it and took the penalty, you had a hobby horse, and you had to ride your hobby horse over Beecher's Brook. It was about, what do you reckon, Alan? About 100 meters riding a hobby horse there and back. And that was fun, seeing people early on actually do the little bit of gallop, but much later on people were just kind of trudging around, holding on to the hobby horse. But that was fun. So I had a great time on the media lap. I had a great time through the whole time, because generally I was walking in reverse to catch lots of different people. I think it was you who taught me how to do that at High Rocks. And it was just great to to hear stories, and there's, why are you not running? I can't believe you're not doing it this year. Like, yeah, I know, it's all fun, isn't it? And then catching people in the pits, and catching up, of course, with the guys from UK OCR reports, obstacle running adventures. It's so good that I don't really see them. Well, I don't see them from year to year until we get to World's Toughest Mudder. So it was great to catch up with them too. But I think, Alan, hopefully you agree that the mix of obstacles and the way that the route was, you're right, probably not hard if you just took it as one lap. And of course, I just did the one lap. But I think cumulatively, as you found out last year, cumulatively, it just grinds and grinds and grinds at you and slowly gets harder.
I agree. I think it was a tougher event than last year. I genuinely think it was tougher than last year, in my opinion. I have a funny story to tell you, and I've got to tell this story. So while Wil was out in his media lap, just before Everest, I was with about 8 or 9 people, and Everest wasn't open. And we was running from 00 Twinkle Toes, whatever it was, towards it. And all of a sudden, we sees Wil and Iris going up Everest. So all 7 or 8 people, I was like in close vicinity, all going, oh, and then a few expletives, yeah. Everest is open. Oh, I can't believe it. We've got to go up Everest. Everyone's saying that. And I looked and went, I think that's Wil. I'm not sure it's open. And they're going, oh, yeah, it is. Look, there's 2 of them going up it. We gets to Everest and it was closed. They were doing it for a media, and you've never seen such a sigh of relief from a group of grown men, that one obstacle was closed in. It was like one almighty, oh, thank God for that. It was like absolutely amazing. He had everyone on. Best practical joke ever.
And on the opposite side, we went round and at that point, Arctic Enema / Fire and Ice, that was closed as well. So we went down, and oh my God, it's really hard when that tube is dry. It's really difficult to slide down it. So I went down, and there were some competitors coming up going, yes, it's open. And the volunteer like, no, it's not. And then, oh.
Yeah, can we talk about Fire and Ice for a second? Because I've got to say, it looks like style over substance. I didn't do it. It looked really cool. It made for some amazing media shots. If you haven't already watched the highlight video on Tough Mudder's YouTube, go and watch it. Some great things, some great cameos from people we know, like Michelle comes to mind from Scots instantly, but a few other people we know and who you know. It looks cool. I can't see the point of the fire. The fire, you might as well just put tinsel there.
Agree, and it was a shame that they put a lot of work in it. It looked great, and some of the photos will look absolutely fantastic. And no, it's no Firefly, and I think they wanted to try and make it great. If you're at the top, actually, to be fair, if you're at the top, you did feel the heat, and there was lots of glow sticks at the bottom in the water as well to kind of give it more of an effect. But I don't think it quite came across as what Tough Mudder would have really liked it to be. I guess it, it's one of those, you always try things and see whether it works. I don't think it quite worked the way that they wanted it to do. But as I say, I was at the top when they was just trying out and ready for it to open, because so many people there, so many Tough Mudder staff, you did feel that heat, and it was just a big kind of wick thing, like the bioethanol that you have for kind of garden heater type things. That's what it was. So it was giving off some heat. But no, it's no Firefly. Before I forget, the only thing about the heat as well, and it was probably a little bit hotter than last year, Alan, do you think? I know loads and loads of people really struggled overnight, because actually the temperature difference between the day and the night was so much greater than it was last year. Last year, I think you ran out, Alan, without any neoprene for most of the night. But this time there was loads of people putting neoprene on, even some veterans that possibly, you'd expect them not to need the neoprene. So I think it did catch quite a few people out this time, just because massive difference when you wouldn't really expect it to get as cold as it and windy as you would expect it to go.
Yeah, I completely agree. It was really hot through the day and then really cold at night. The temperature difference was actually much greater than last year. Last year it was it was hot and the nighttime was hot. Where this one, I want to say it was I think it was in the 30s through the day, which was probably a match on last year, but the wind stopped it feeling like it was in its 30s.
Mm-hmm.
But then in the evening, I think it dropped to like 13, 14 degrees, which was much colder than last year. I think the coldest it dropped was 16, 17 last year.
And I think it was the breeze as well that just made that big difference.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Yeah, well, you have that in Midlands. I do remember, again, going back to Europe's Toughest Mudder when it was there, I'd always make sure I had a cheap windbreaker on for just that reason, particularly that dogleg hill, just it cut straight through you. Before we move on, because we do have a little bit, well, I've got two more things to ask. I'll ask the first one. Alan and, in fact, Wil, anything else to talk about when it comes to WTM? Alan, I'll come to you first and then I'll ask Wil.
Just want to go, the standout performances here were absolutely phenomenal. We've got Dassos, 115. I have had a look today to see, because OCR report mentioned that he might have broke the world record because he did it in 25 hours and 9 minutes in total, which, if OCR report were right, when I saw on their conversation, he would have broke it. But Batters actually did it in 24 hours 18. So he didn't get the world record, but he equaled it in distance times. And I want to say around and say, Batters didn't get morning glory, 2 hours of double obstacles, So this is to me the toughest, world's toughest mudder. So it is a different course, different event, currently world record holder.
And speaking about Alan, do you have the results handy for those who have been under a rock? And while you're getting them up, Wil, any final thoughts from you? And is there anything sneaky you can tell us? Because I've done media at events. I know when you do media, you happen to be around the right people, you hear the right things. It's just for three of us. Is there anything you can tell us?
So talking about outstanding performances, there was someone that you both know really, really well that topped the leaderboard before Dassos for quite a while.
Yeah, oh yeah, I do know about this. I know about this, Ian. A certain Wil Chung topped the leaderboard for quite a while.
About 5 hours, I was told I was topping the leaderboard for. With my super duper 5 miles, I topped the leaderboard, even though Das had already done like 55 miles or something by that time. I was still top.
Was it in alphabetical order for some reason?
I have no idea why I was at the top. Obviously, my media lap was just so superior from everything else that they decided to put me towards the top. But I'm now that I guess the way that they had to do it is disqualify me, so I'm not even in the standings whatsoever.
I wonder what I probably know what caused it, because you set out after the main drag. It probably worked out that you'd done 5 in whatever time or something daft like that. It would be something to do with that. But the other question, Wil, any sneaky knowledge, like, or anything you're actually allowed to tell the two of us?
So, no, because it's all kind of history now. The only thing I can certainly tell you is that World's Toughest Mudder is back at Beaver Castle next year.
It was funny watching the American on the highlights call it Belvoir. I've been waiting for a long time, and they did call it Belvoir Castle. Alan, have you got the results?
I have, yes. First of all, I'm not going to go through all the age groups, but I'm going to give one big shout out to female 55 to 59. It was an all Grantham podium. an all Grantham podium, and two people who listen to this podcast all the time, and every time I see them, they go, "You didn't give us a shout out." So Maxine, Joe, well done. Separated by less than a second, I'm told, they crossed the finish line because they always run together. So well done to those two ladies. But the results go as follows.
Wendy Sibold, she was the third place woman on that. So well done, Wendy. All Grantham podium.
Fantastic, absolutely amazing. We don't need to go with further results out. That's it. All English, all Grantham podium. One of the standout things for me, Ian, was the 100-mile club. Now, there was it 2, Will, or 3 people who got 100 miles that didn't even get on the podium? 2 people didn't even get on the podiums after getting 100 miles, Ian. How bad's that?
Yeah, that's bad. That's showing the level of competition. And I think it might have been you, Will, who, because we were exchanging messages, listeners, they do actually get internet signal down in Grantham. So it was actually, listener, it was like all teletext waiting for Will to send me a message. Yeah, I could have gone on the OCR report, but I love those guys, but not as much as Will. However, Will was sending me the messages and saying basically that people like, well, me, wouldn't have liked this course because it was super tough. When it came to the elites for, they were just, well, they're superhuman. They were just breezing through it. So it doesn't surprise me, like you say, Alan, that people hit 100 and didn't get on the podium. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Females, in third place, we had Julian Heller on 85 miles. Second place, Robin Costa on 85 miles. And in first place, the one I think me and Will predicted in our little show, Nikki Karumba on 90 miles. Absolutely well done. I'm going to go all the 100 miles in the males. So 8th, Peter Kizarik. 7th, Jeff Flippat. 6th, Craig Derbyshire. I want to say Craig Derbyshire, I saw him do his last lap. He did his last lap, his 20th lap, in under an hour and a half, Ian. He absolutely flew around it. It was probably the fastest last lap I'd ever seen. 5th place, Pontus Diamond. 4th place, Chris Mendoza. And then all these guys got above 100. So 105 miles in third place from Canada, Austin Azar. In second place, 105 miles, Grant Thompson. And overall winner, world record holder, first place, 115 miles, Dassos Gonella. And I want to say his pit crew were absolutely fantastic.
And I believe that is the first ever UK winner of WTM, which is a feat in and of itself. Yes, we know John's won the teams with Ryan when they put a lot of money on the line, but that was the first ever UK winner. So well done, Dassos. We know how good he is, but no, I think the world knows how good he is.
Yeah, absolutely. And Alan, you mentioned the pit crew. So our very own Becky Neal and Pit Rainbow, they were like a super efficient F1 pit team. They were absolutely amazing to get Dassos in and out. And Alan, just going back to you kind of dropping out and wanting to DNF, had you not DNF, that could have been an all UK podium.
It could have. Oh, I can't believe it.
I bet you was on for 100 miles as well in the first hour, weren't you?
in the first 30 minutes, I was probably.
Me too. Absolutely. Me too. But no, great thing. I think we've covered everything except one final question. Okay, Alan?
Fire away with your final. You always have one extra question. Yeah,
I know. I do it to all guests. Though you're not a guest, you're a landlord. But 2027.
Yeah.
You racing?
I am, yes. I'm coming back without a doubt. I'm back to race. I'm going to make it my A race for next year. I don't think I'm going to do any other race at this moment in time except WTM.
Will, same question.
He's got his ticket. He's got his ticket.
I've already got. Well, you can't really see it, but I've already got my ticket. Yes, I am in for 2020. Now, hopefully Mike and Caitlin will listen to this. I said to them at the weekend, because Caitlin really wants to do 50 miles. So Caitlin and Mike from Obstacle Running Adventures, by the way, and if you don't listen to their podcast, you really should be listening to their podcast too. So I've suggested maybe we have a podcast team. So possibly running with them and other podcast presenters to try and run a team. But I've also suggested, because Caitlin really wants to do 50, I said, you know what? I could help pace you to get that 50 as well. I don't know whether I want. I don't want to go push myself and kill myself. I have enjoyed it so much for the past couple of years, kind of being media and kind of, let's call it, prancing around and just enjoying the vibe. I actually just want to enjoy the vibe and get a few miles in and enjoy it, rather than go and push myself for a particular number. So I've suggested, hopefully, once Mike and Caitlin kind of sleep it off and have a think and think in a few months' time, maybe we'll have a podcast team going out next year. But I'm definitely in. I already got my ticket.
Is that a team, or is that you're all going to be solos yet kind of run together?
Team.
Team. Okay, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Oh, sorry, Alan, you didn't mention Roman Toff, the team. They got Reba Sports, I think they were called, as a team, 125 miles, Roman Toff and team. And of course, Roman, very much well known as a Spartan racer, national racer, and coming over and doing the English national, the British national Spartan races. He's not going to be doing Midlands next in a couple of weeks. So that gives someone else a chance to maybe have a go.
Amazing. Right, Alan, I think that's it then for WTM. We covered it.
It certainly is, and we'll just led us straight in there to Spartan in a couple of weeks.
He did indeed. And yeah, this was a weird update. This was one of them, Alan, that you know, on a Friday after we've recorded, I then sometimes look back and just see random things. And this is what it is. Spartan sent out an update saying you're receiving this email because you're registered for Super Elite or Super Age Group category at Spartan Midlands. Please note that because it's part of the UK National Series, it's actually the sprint. So you shouldn't have been able to register for Super Elite, Super Age Group. It then tells you what to do. And yeah, it sounds like a little bit of an administrative mess up by allowing people to register for this race, because it shouldn't have even existed, because we know the sprint's part of the UK OCR series too.
We knew it, we knew it right from start. But you know, they have interns. You know, we have the Tough Mudder intern. Obviously, you know, Tough Mudder intern's been promoted to Spartan. So you know, this is the thing. They moved to Spartan. They're going to make mistakes.
They absolutely are. But I think it's being sorted for most people. But if you're currently booked for the Super Age Group of Super Elite, definitely get in touch with Spartan if that applies to you. Let's talk about Total Warrior briefly. I reached out to Steve because Alan conned him into spending 300 quid on ticket, or so it seemed. It keeps going up. Steve really enjoyed it. He mentioned that it was kind of the experience you mentioned, Alan, that, you know, some good big obstacles. I'm not sure it's his favoritist race ever, but it was definitely worth paying 600 quid for a free ticket. So no, he enjoyed it. There was some fun things. But it was he was basically saying, you know, if it was closer to him, he'd definitely be up for it. And he mentioned it kind of felt like a Tough Mudder in places. And Alan, I think you've said that some of the obstacles are very big, very Tough Mudder-esque, but it's not quite Tough Mudder.
Exactly, and they stepped up. I've seen the pictures this year. They've stepped a few of them obstacles up. They've made them bigger. They have joined obstacles, very much like a WTM joining obstacles. They've joined obstacles. They're always trying to bring new innovation. I wish they would go on the road. I wish they would go back on the road like they originally did when they used to have Sharp, and then they also had Leeds. Unfortunately, they just go to Leeds. I would love to see them somewhere else. I think we could have the three big ones. And I'm not going to say Spartan's big one. I'm going to say Tough Mudder, Nuclear, and Total Warrior. It just needs them put on another event. I know Nuclear won't go on the road, but definitely Total Warrior could.
When you're paying £1,000 for a free ticket, they have a little bit of money there to play around. Steve also pointed out there wasn't really a lot of technical running, which, if I recall correctly, you did kind of get at Sharp. It was very much like a Tough Mudder Southwest experience from that point of view. Still a lot of fun was had by all. And also, Alan, a mutual friend of everyone on this call who we didn't even realize did Total Warrior.
Oh, tell me more.
Emma Waring made her effectively OCR return. It was for a 50th. So she did it with a bunch of friends. Obviously she did it with Evie as well. But yeah, Emma went out there, went and did Total Warrior for Armstrong's 50th, and it had been a year in planning, and she did it, and she had a whale of a time. I reached out to her. She mentioned that it was fun to just go out there in the sunshine, in the outdoors, because yes, I love fitness racing, but being at Deadly Dozen recently, I do miss the outdoors as well. And who knows, maybe I do an OCR at some point in the future. We'll see. Maybe Emma's inspired me. Maybe there's one to go and do sometime. But yeah, it looked like they had a great time. So absolutely brilliant. Well done to Emma, to Evie, and to Armstrong and everyone else who took part. I think it looked like you had a whale of a time.
It's when you look at the results of what happened there. I've just got them up while we're talking. I'm going to go through them in a second. But the names we don't know. This is the part that this is one of the better things. So the Saturday 12K results, the women, Drew Allison third, Daniel Trott second, Naomi Celeste Willman first, men, Johnny Wilson third, Jamie McKay second, and Chris Ganton first. The names that you don't see, and it's not until you go quite down that down the list, so you eventually see someone that oh, I know that person because I used to run with them years ago. It's great that they're getting so many new people in to the sport, Ian. Long live Total Warrior.
Long live Total Warrior and every event like this. And it's a good point, Alan. I love going to events and seeing people doing it for the first time. Dawn, I'm sorry, we're going into Fitness Racing Corner, but I was at Deadly Dozen Bolton, and what was brilliant about it is I would estimate probably 80% had never done Deadly Dozen before. And of those, probably more than half had never done an event like this before. It was so good to see so many different people. Of course, a lot of people I personally recognise because it was in Bolton and that, which in and of itself was hilarious. Because do you remember that old stand-up show, that joke? And Martin Gemmell will remind me who this applied to, but the Glaswegian comedian who came out and started. I think he had a comedy banjo thing. He came out, went and did that, and it was bombing. And then his brother turned up behind him to join him in the double act. And from the back, a lonely Glaswegian voice said, "Oh heck, there's two of them." And I think the Deadly Dozen personnel had that feeling with me at Deadly Dozen Bolton. Oh heck, there's more of them.
I bet did you go back into Bolton lingo? Did you was it like you were doing the interviews just in Bolton lingo with everyone?
I did have a lot of Bolton-esque twang. In fact, I went back to work the next day and I was just explaining to a colleague that I put my car in for its MOT. And the thing about the Bolton accent is we taught incredibly quick. I'm going to say it's probably the Irish influence, but we taught really quick. And he just stared blankly at me and he said, "What are you doing to Karen?" Yeah, I think I'm out of it now, but yeah, the first day back after work after Deadly Dozen Bolton, it definitely something. But great day was had by all. A big shout out to Ian Rawlingson, who you know, Alan, who took
Yeah.
on his first ever event of this nature. He loved it. Neil Raby and Heather Raby also took part. We've interviewed them in the past. That was fun because I actually, and the Bear Crawls, I gave them the microphone and just let them effectively interview themselves. And I dare say they did a better job than I do.
Like that. Just interview you. Well, we haven't tried that. Maybe we could do that next year at WTM. Just give people microphones and go around interviewing each other.
I think they'd absolutely love that.
I think it's a great
like
idea.
Yeah. Next year we're sorted.
Should we go through the results? We don't go through all the Deadly Dozen results, but we got enough time just to give some shout outs.
You have, yes.
I like you say that. Yes.
Yes. No, I mean yes. Because there is. I've got one thing I want to talk about after this, and you're going to love it. But
Okay.
you put it on there. But let's go through the results first.
Okay. Quick results. In the women's solo, Josephine Malley Jones was in third place, Emma Stanley in second place, Leanne Sheen in first place. Graham Coleman was in third place for the male solo. Billy Blower was second place, and his teammate Sam Knowles was in first place. That was fun. They usually run as a double, and they ran together. That was actually really good. Before we move away from Fitness Racing Corner, quick shout out to Xenom. We talked about Xenom, I want to say a few months ago now, Alan, and they held their first event. Not going to go into it in too much detail, but they had a lot of prize money for their first ever event. First place each took home $25,000, Alan.
Oh my God. Who won?
You know what? I actually have that on our social. So 1 second.
It's only so I know to send my begging letter to. Are you writing yours too, Will, as he finds the results now?
I'm texting now. Leave me alone.
Well, in the men's elite, third place was Riley Martin. Second place was Bill Lear. First place was Jack Farlow. In the women's elite, third place was Sam Pugh. Second place was Emily Rolfe. And first place was Abigail Dommett. I will say they are games athletes, all of these athletes, so they are really good at CrossFit. If you don't remember, Xenom is what I can say it, they can't. It is kind of like CrossFit, but it is standardized CrossFit. So every single event, it is the same 10 events. They had hundreds of athletes. I think they officially mentioned it was about 500 athletes who were there for the first event, which for a startup is brilliant. And they're going to be back in London is their next one. So that's the end of August, Alan. So we need to work on your clean and press before then, because that 25 grand would really buy a lot of podcast mics. So let's go and sort that out. And I think that's pretty much it. High Rock started its season again. It had Jacora. It's got Sydney this coming week. We'll take a deep dive into that next week because there's a few things that interest me about all that. But Alan, you got the floor. You mentioned I put a note on.
You did, yeah. So this is about the high school runner from Mallard Creek High School, the 4x400 meters relay state championship, and they got disqualified. And
They did, and I've got to say, Will, I bet you, like me, you were right on top of this story because you never miss. I can't even remember the location, but you never miss the results of that particular relay race, do you?
Absolutely not. And I was absolutely shocked to my core.
I thought as much, Alan. So why was he disqualified?
So the first part is the reason why he's disqualified him, because I've got to love this bit. He was winning 4x400 meters. He was winning, and I want to see his name. I've got it up here. So where was his name? It is Nyam Brown. He crossed first in the final relay at the state meet, and what he did, Ian, God, can you believe what he did? He raised his hand before the finish line to let people know that he'd won. Waved his hand up in the air to say, I've won, before the finish line. And true to form, they disqualified him. How can you dare celebrate before you cross that finish line?
I'm surprised they didn't cart him off to a new world on some kind of ship. You know, that's a terrible thing. How dare you show any emotion whatsoever? And yes, listener, I'm being sarcastic. Alan, honestly, lifting your arm gets a DQ. What madness is this?
It is complete and utter madness. It's absolutely mental. But they've gone back, they've appealed against it. And I find this even more madness. So, Church of England Jordan High School were crowned the champions after Mallard Creek. Nyam Brown raised his hand. So they were crowned champions. It's gone away, and it's been on for a little while, this actually. And it's come back, and it's been stated that, it wasn't necessarily unsportsmanlike behaviour, and there wasn't valid reasons to disqualify him. So you would think, okay, they've given back to the first place. But no, they haven't, Ian. No, they haven't. They've given joint first place. The guy won, for Christ's sake. That sounds funny, Christ's sake, from his Church of England. Sorry about that. But it's the one. They can't turn around and say, you joined first. He crossed the finish line. If he did everything right and crossed the finish line, he won. You can't turn around and say, it's like the football match of the night, because Paraguay beat Netherlands because they scored an extra penalty. No, they didn't. They saved it. You missed it all, everyone. It's now a draw, and they're both going through to the last 16. No, it isn't. They won. Mallard Creek won, Ian.
Yeah, and listener, you can definitely tell this was recorded on the Friday, because Alan didn't pay attention and realize that Paraguay beat Germany. Meanwhile, I believe the Netherlands lost to Morocco, I want to say. So we completely got that. But that's what happens when you record on a Friday, and Alan's only just got up from bed. And I want to talk about England performance, Alan, but I think we should dissect that next week, if that's okay.
Not got enough time, Ian. We haven't got enough time to dissect.
We've just not got enough time. So if you have any thoughts on England's performance, please let us know, and we'll include them in next week's show. There's a few more notes, listener, but we are going to bump them to next week, because a lot of them, they're timeless. And I will say, it's not looking like it's going to be a particularly busy weekend, to be fair. So famous last word. It's not massive will happen, but it looks like we'll be able to catch you up. Alan, with that being said, I'm kind of out of notes. Was there anything final when it came to WTM?
No, but I've got one last question for Wil. Wil, how gutted are you that did you not only miss out on the IKEA round store race, you actually missed out on the Tesco round store race?
Well, I only missed out on the Tesco one because I was doing some media at some small race somewhere this weekend. I was absolutely gutted I could not get into IKEA. And as I messaged to you all, I think it's because I was trying to type in my EA URN number to try and get my £2 off. If I hadn't been doing that, I might have been able to get in. But apparently those spaces, which there weren't many, there was IKEA down in Croydon. There was only 80 spots available, and there was already gone within two minutes. So I'd love to do the Tesco one. I saw that on the WhatsApp. As everyone, well, not everyone, but as people know about me, I've never done an actual marathon. But I would break that if there was a Tesco or an IKEA or something weird and wonderful. There is a car park one. I pretty do fancy doing the car park one too. So I'm going to get one of those funny ones in.
I will say, Alan, I'm going to keep my eyes open for Will to see if we can get him that. In the meantime, Will, I think, according to the magazine that got pushed through my door yesterday, in 2 weeks' time, there's going to be the middle of Lidl long jump. Do you fancy that?
Down the middle aisle.
Is that where they've got all the sandpits, all the kiddie sandpits out there, just ready for you to jump into?
But you have to build it yourself.
God,
carry on, Will.
We could turn into a triathlon. We could have paddling pools so you can swim in.
Oh, yeah. just run around the car park. Now, I was just saying, one of the things about that IKEA medal apparently is that you would have to put it together yourself. I thought that was absolute genius.
With no instructions.
With no instructions.
Missing a couple of screws.
Oh gosh. Right, and with that being said, we'll try and wrap this up now because it was a little bit over time. But I will say goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
Listeners, we hope you've enjoyed listening to this today. We've had much fun recording it. And we've got lots of stories to tell us, lots of fun stories for next week. But in the meantime, you stay safe, you keep on